Greetings, pen pals. Apologies in advance. This audio track that you're listening to now was not recorded at the same time as the video. I had some audio problems, so I had to re-record all the audio, so the audio might not be in sync. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to be reviewing two different felt tip fountain pens that are refillable using fountain pen ink. We have the Yookers Yooth and the Kuretake Karappo. So the Yookers Yooth and the Kuretake Karappo, one is Japanese, one is made in the Netherlands, I believe. And for the Yookers Yooth, just a full disclosure, I've actually used one of these before. I have one sitting on my desk right now in my office that I've used for a while, so I do have experience with that one. For the Kuretake Karappo, I haven't used it at all. I'll be unboxing it and seeing it and using it and refilling it for the first time. I think this is a good contrast because these both use two completely different filling mechanisms and systems and approaches to dealing with the issue of refilling a felt tip pen using ink from a fountain pen. So I thought it would make a good contrast for you folks, in addition to being able to see two different pens in action. And again, we're going to fill both of them. You can see the differences in the two filling mechanisms, etc., and so forth. So we'll start with the Yookers pen, which, like I said, I have one of these before, I've used it before, etc. So this is not going to be new for me. For this pen, you get in the package, you can see you get a pen, you get the cap. It's available in different widths. This one is the 0.8 millimeter size pen, and it's available in different sizes. You can even buy different replacement tips. This one's a 1.4 millimeter one, so they do sell the replacement tips, which have the whole section and the new felt tip and the replacement. So if you want various sizes, or if it wears out, etc., which felt tips will do, you can get those. It also comes with 5 standard international cartridges. I won't be using those. I'm going to be filling them up separately with a converter that I have here. This is just a generic standard international converter that I have laying around. So let's just get right into it. We can tear open the package and see what we got. As you can see, we have the pen, we have the cap, and like I said, the cartridges are just regular standard international cartridges, and we won't be using those. So it's a pretty nicely made pen. It's fairly light colored plastic. It unscrews, and there's a cartridge that comes inside. So you actually get 6 cartridges with that. But it's fairly light, thin plastic. Here's the section with you can see the porous point tip on the very end there. They call this a 0.8 millimeter, and that's where the cartridge would go, etc. You might be able to eyedropper this, although I wouldn't recommend trying it. It's probably going to be a bit of a mess. I've never tried it. I'm not sure if that actually has that hole. Looks like it might go through a little bit, so we'll defer on eyedropping it. I wouldn't chance it if it was me. I don't think there's any need to eyedropper it, but it's a pretty nice pen. Has a pretty nice cap liner. I can tell you from personal experience with the other one I have, that cap liner is very effective. Keeps it nice and moist, prevents it from drying out. It's an effective clip, and it has the Yookers branding on the bottom of the cap. So you can just put the standard international cartridge, fits right in. This particular one is a push-pull converter, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing more to it. Now, you could dip it in the ink and draw up the ink. That might work, and it probably would work, in fact, but that, again, is a little bit of a mess for a pen like this. It's not a fountain pen. It's not meant to fill that way. So what I'm going to do is pull out the converter, and I'm going to draw up the ink from an ink bottle directly into the converter. I've refilled my other one that way many times. It works just fine. So in terms of ink, we're going to be using just Noodler's red ink, as this is a red pen, so we thought we'd get a nice ink to match. One thing you got to be super careful about on Noodler's inks is they fill them to the tippy top. Even though I have used this bottle before, it's still pretty up to the top there. So we're just going to draw some ink up into this converter. It's a slide converter, so you just slide the little lever up and down to draw up the ink, and there we go. And then we have a nice converter full of ink. Just going to wipe that off a little bit and fairly easily. That's all there is to it. And then you will close up the bottle of ink there so we don't make a mess. And we're going to put the converter into the section of the pen, and that's really all there is to it, not much more than that. Now we could push ink from the converter out the tip to prime it. That might again make a little bit of a mess, and since I'm not in a particular hurry here, what I'm going to do is just close up the pen and let it sit upside down for a little while we look at our Kuretake Karappo pen, and that'll give us that pen a little time for the ink to prime down into the tip. So here we have our Kuretake Karappo. Like I said, this comes as a set of 5. I haven't used these before. I'm opening this for the first time, as you can see right here. So let's open this up and see what we've got. It comes with some instructions. You get the pen itself, 5 pens. You have 5 caps that go on the end of the pen after you fill it, and then 5 of these wicks, which are sort of the traditional wicks that you normally would expect to see in a sort of a normal felt tip pen. The wicks kind of absorb the ink and essentially serve as sort of the ink storage means for this particular type of pen. Again, a very, very sort of much more conventional type felt tip pen. So again, for each pen, we have a pen, a wick, and a cap, and we can open up the package of caps, and we'll get a cap out for our pen here. One other thing that it also includes, and you can see in the package along with the caps, is this little sheet of tiny, tiny round stickers. These stickers are kind of cool. What you would do is color in the sticker and then put it on the top of the cap to indicate what color ink is in there. So that's what we'll definitely do that at the end. That seems pretty neat. So now we got our 3 main components here for filling the pen. So let's see how that is actually done. So first we're going to look at the nib tip. It's just a conventional porous point tip. It has, you can see the feed, which is sort of this porous feed which extends into the barrel of the pen. The wick will make contact with that, and that's how it will feed the ink. It has some writing in Japanese there to indicate the branding of the pen. It's all in all, it's a pretty nicely constructed pen. The cap has an inner component which presumably seals off the nib to keep it from drying out. Now, if we look at these instructions, I can't make head or tail of what it actually says, but you can look at the picture and it's actually pretty clear. So they're basically saying what you want to do here is immerse the wick in your ink until it's almost up to the top, but not quite. You can see they have that white spot there, which indicates that you shouldn't let it go all the way to the top. I guess that's where you're going to be holding it. Then you would then take it and put it in the barrel of the pen, and then you would cap it with this cap, and then the only thing left would be to put the sticker on the end of the barrel. So that's really all there is to it. Those 4 steps. Presumably this has a lot more stuff written there, but those of you who can read that can tell me if that's anything important is written there or not. But I think I pretty much get the gist of how this filling mechanism works. So let's get some ink out and let's get to filling it. The ink I'm going to be using here is Noodler's Aircore North African Violet, which is a nice ink from Noodler's as well. And again, so we're just going to follow the instructions here. We're going to submerge the wick in the ink. We're going to let the wick draw up all the ink. We're going to let it go not quite to the top, presumably to keep it off your fingers. So it's definitely sucking up quite a bit of ink there. So this is obviously going to be pretty effective. And then we're going to just simply stick it down the barrel of the pen. There we go. And that's all there really is to it. So what looks like is going to happen when we push this cap down, it's going to force the wick into the feed, into making contact with the feed. So when we push the cap down, like so, and there we can see that everything is together. And as you can see, there's a tiny bit of purple starting to appear even on the very tip of the pen, kind of right away. So let's just cap that up before we spill that and have an ink catastrophe. And we're going to do a similar kind of thing. We're going to let this sit for a few minutes inverted. Our Yookers pen's probably ready by now, and let's see how that pen is writing. All right, so as you can see, the tip is now all red because the ink has gone down all the way into the nib, so we should be ready to write with this. So as we said before, this pen is a Yookers Yooth, and it is spelled not in the conventional way. It's like two Utes from my cousin Vinny. And this has a 0.8 millimeter felt tip. And this writes pretty well and pretty smooth, and it pretty much gets the job done. And what's nice is you have all the different tip sizes available. You can swap out tips if you want to change colors. You're probably definitely going to put a replacement tip in, but they do have the replacement tips for these, which is really quite nice. And again, when to refill this, what I have done with the one that I've been using for a while is I just simply pull the converter out and submerge it and do the whole filling process all over again. So that's what I do to refill it, and it actually works quite well for refilling it for that purpose like that. So that actually works quite well, and it's a fairly comfortable, nice section. It's a little bit grippy, and it works definitely well. And I would definitely recommend this. Now we can get to our Kuretake Karappo and see how that is faring. And as you can see, that one definitely the ink has made its way down into the tip. They call this one a 0.4 millimeter. As you can see, those two sizes don't really bear out, because as we write with this one here, our Kuretake Karappo, you can see it is considerably broader than the 0.8 millimeter Yookers Yooth. So you have to kind of take these measurements with a grain of salt. But this, like we said, is the Kuretake Karappo, and again, it writes quite nice, but it is definitely broader than what Yookers is calling. Its 0.4 is definitely broader than Noodler's. Than Yookers 0.8 millimeter measurement. So again, you really need to just take these measurements with a bit of a grain of salt. But this is a 0.4 millimeter felt tip, and again, writes well as well. So they both really pretty much get the job done. Again, very different filling system, etc. But still writes well. They're both fairly easy to fill. If I had to refill this, what I would do would be to pull that plug at the end, and then I wouldn't remove the wick and all that. That would be a complete mess. I would refill it with a syringe. So I'd fill the syringe with ink, and I would sort of inject new ink into the wick with a syringe. That's how I would refill that. But this is holding quite a bit of ink, so I imagine refilling this is going to be, unless it just dries out really horribly, which I can't imagine it would. I would imagine refilling this is going to be quite a ways down the road. But again, when that does occur, I'm definitely going to use a syringe. I'm not going to. That'll be a real mess. You have to probably wear rubber gloves and all that if you really wanted to do that process with dipping the wick again, which I don't really see why. I would just, like I said, I would just use a syringe to refill it. If I fill up another one of these, I might try it with a syringe from the get-go, because that might actually work well as well. Although this method certainly worked fine. The cap seems to work well. Has that inner piece, like I said, to keep the nib from drying out. So all in all, seems to be working pretty well. We need to, of course, color in our little sticker to indicate the color ink that we have. So let's just take care of that to complete all the instructions that we were given. So we'll just color in that sticker and we will put it on the top of the cap. It's kind of a nice little feature. I kind of like that. It's a nice touch. Although you can see the ink in the barrel, that doesn't always give you a good indication of what ink you have in the pen. As many of you will know, a lot of ink just tends to always look black, no matter what color it is in the barrel. So this certainly helps show you that. So again, nice pens. They're both pretty nice pens. Like I say, they both definitely get the job done. Two completely different filling systems and two completely different approaches to a similar problem. There are, I'm quite sure, others of these out there. This is by no means meant to be the comprehensive overview of refillable felt tip pens, but these are two good examples, I think, and I would definitely recommend both of them. I think they both work fairly well. Speaking of working well, a couple of things that I would really appreciate if you folks could all do. If you would please take a few moments to please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this video and this channel. I would very much appreciate it if you could do these things, and it would be just a nice gesture, and I would appreciate it. But I hope you really enjoyed watching this video, because I really did enjoy making it for you folks. And as always, until we see each other again, have a great day. Bye bye.